Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video, we're going to look at the assignment called Exploring the Family of Quadratic Functions. I want to show you how you'll do the graphing for these problems. So you're either going to use Sketchpad. If you use Sketchpad, remember that you have to be logged into the Minnows Virtual Student Desktop to access that program. Or you can use Desmos. Desmos is an online graphing calculator. Here's the website for it, so you can click on that link to get to it, or you can just type desmos.com and then on graphing calculator. So what you're going to do is you're going to first graph the parent function, y equals x squared in Sketchpad or Desmos, and then you will look at, that's our parent function, and then you're going to look at when we change that equation, how does it change the graph? So you're going to be graphing several different changes and see how it changes the parabola, how it looks different than y equals x squared. And then you're going to make some predictions first before you graph. What do you think this one will look like? And then check and see if you are correct. Then we're going to look at what happens if you put a negative in front. How does that change the way the graph looks, the parabola looks? And then summarize what happens for the negative. So, and then when we get to part 2, make sure that you make a new page, and then we're going to see what happens when you add a number or subtract a number from the end of the equation. And then explain, and then some predictions about, and some writing the rules, what happens when it's positive, what happens when it's negative. So I'm going to show you how to do this using both Desmos and Sketchpad. So you might want to have this in one window and then Sketchpad open in another window if you're going to use Sketchpad. And to graph in Sketchpad, you go to Graph, Plot New Function, and it'll automatically put the grid form up for you. Or you can first graph, make the grid form. You probably want the rectangular grid so that you have these points to change the scale as needed. So the first one is the parent function. You're going to graph y equals x squared. So all you do in Sketchpad is type the x squared part. And the default in Sketchpad is this thin purple line. To change the way that looks so that you can always kind of pick that one out, you can change the color to, some nice bright thick color. And there's the parent function, and then you're going to also on the same page graph if we were to multiply that by 0.5. So if we just go back to graph plot new function, type in the 0.5 first and then the x squared. And then what do you think will happen? Will this be skinnier or fatter? Turns out it's fatter. It might be the opposite of what you think would happen. So you will then go back to the worksheet and answer the question about how it's different. It's wider. Now when you do the second one, you still want to be able to see the parent function of y equals x squared. So you can either hide this by selecting them and hiding the objects, or I'm going to undo that. Or I could make a new page. So to make a new page, I can go to File, Document Options, and then I can add a page. I'm going to add a duplicate to my first page. So now I've got 2 pages down here, page 1 and page 2. They look exactly the same. On page 2, I'm going to delete this one, and then I'm going to put my new one. My new one is y equals 2x squared. This is from the worksheet. And what do you think will happen? When I did 0.5, it made it wider. Maybe you think this will make it skinnier. If so, you're correct. So you'd continue doing this for the rest of the problems, graphing them, and then explaining how they change. Now, if you're using Desmos, Desmos is a web-based application. So you're going to go to Firefox and go to desmos.com and get to this page. So our parent function, we can type the y equals if you want here, and we're going to do y equals x squared. We don't have to worry about changing the color because it'll automatically change when I do y equals 0.5 x squared. and you can then go back and explain how this looks. Now this is what I want to see. You can either take a screenshot of this and paste it into your worksheet, or you can go to Share Graph. And when you go to Share Graph, you can get a link. So I just copied that link, and now when I go back to the worksheet, I can paste my graph right here, hit the spacebar once, and it becomes a link, and now I can actually click on that when you turn this in, and I'll be able to look at your graph and make sure that you did that correctly. So again, in Desmos, you can either share it this way. You can also like print, and you could print to PDF. That would be a little bit time consuming. But if you have a snip or a way to do a screenshot, let me do my snipping tool, then I could do that too if you prefer that method. So then you just draw around. Maybe I'm going to do that again. Hey, where did it go? My snip tool is supposed to stay there. So this time I want to include the equations of the graph. I think that would be helpful. And then I can copy that. Let's see, this is copy. And then I can go back to the worksheet and I could paste that. So that either way, whichever way you prefer. So when I want to do the next one in Desmos, the next graph, I can just hide this one and it doesn't show up anymore. So then to do the next one, I would do y equals, it was 2x squared. And now that one shows up. So it's now these red one and the green one show up. So again, I could share this graph, or I could copy or put a snip in there. In Desmos, you don't have to type the y equals part. So if I wanted to do 3x squared, you can just type that and it'll graph that as well. I don't know if that was the next question. So you're going to continue you're going to continue working through your worksheet and make your conjectures about how they're different, your explanations, and tell what happens for the different parts. And then the second part is when you add a number to the end, and you'll say whether that moves it up or down or left or right or something like that. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget to attach your saved file from Sketchpad or add the graphs as you go in Desmos. Thanks a lot and have a great day.